Hi, and welcome to the class description video for the Eating You Alive class for the middle school and high school age group. The first video in the lecture series for week 1 is an introductory video. In this short introductory video, I will go over some personal information about myself, my family, whereabouts we live, our pets' names, and we have quite a few pets. And I will also go over my qualifications and my background, my education, all my certifications, in addition to my Bachelor of Science in Health Education and Behavior. And I have 10 or 11 certifications from the National Academy of Sports Medicine for exercise training. In addition to the introductory video is the first actual class video. In week 1, we will be discussing the importance of water. In this particular lecture on water, we will discuss the effects of not getting enough water on the human body, the effects of getting enough water on the human body, and they will learn the difference between mild and severe dehydration, the signs and symptoms and treatment of each, and we will discuss bottled water versus tap water and just exactly how much water each individual person is supposed to have on a daily basis and how to calculate that information. In week 2 of this lecture series, we will move on to food, and we will be discussing junk food. In this particular week's lecture, we will be discussing and defining junk food. We will be defining what dead food is and why I consider junk food to be dead food. We will be discussing the effects that eating junk food can have on the body. We'll be using Mountain Dew in particular. And we will be discussing the various types of food additives that have been banned in every other country just about but the United States. But the main topic of this particular lecture is junk food, what it is, that we should avoid it, and the effects that it has on the body. In week 3, we move on from junk food to healthy food. In this lecture, we move on from junk food and we discuss healthy food or alive food. We will review the definition of junk food. We will go over the definition of healthy food and the definition of alive food and why I consider healthy food to be alive. We will be discussing the effects that healthy food has on the human body and how we were designed to eat specific foods and how there are specific foods that were designed for us to eat. And at the end of this lecture, they should be able to differentiate between junk food and healthy food. They should be able to look at something and immediately know that whether or not it's junk or whether or not it's healthy. We will discuss the fact that when choosing foods that we think are healthy or not, or junk food, we should take a look at the ingredients label, and if we cannot pronounce it, we shouldn't be eating it. And also, if it is advertised on TV, we shouldn't be eating it. But the main topic of this lecture is healthy food and the good effects that it has on the human body. In week 4, we will be discussing how to read and understand a food label. They may find this week's lecture on how to read and understand a food label to be probably one of the most boring lectures in this class, and that's okay. At least they'll have the information when it's over with. But we will discuss every single line of a nutrition facts label that is found on a package of food. And we will also discuss the ingredients list and how the ingredients are listed from most to least. And again, we will discuss if there is an ingredient in that list that they cannot pronounce or they don't know what it is, we probably shouldn't be eating it. The more real food that we eat, the better. And they will learn how to recognize in the ingredients label what is real food and what is not. And on the vitamins and minerals list and the nutrition facts side of the food information label, we will be discussing the serving size and the servings per container and the percentage of daily value, and we'll discuss how to calculate each one of those things. There will be math involved in this lecture, which I'm sure they will be happy to hear. But the main topic of this lecture is the food nutrition label on packages of food, how to read it, and how to understand what they're reading. Week 5 is when we move away from the food and nutrition aspect of this class and we move on to movement and exercise. In this week's class, we will be discussing exercise and how important it is and the effects that it has on the body. We will also talk about how many muscles there are in the human body, how many joints there are in the human body, how the heart is the most important muscle, and how the fact is that it is the only muscle in the body that if it stops working will actually kill you. We talk about how to keep the heart healthy, the various different kinds of exercises, and how we are, as human beings, designed to move. In week 6, we will be discussing the importance of sleep and rest. We will talk about how exercise is important, but how sleep and rest are just as equally important to your health and your body as exercise is and healthy eating. We will discuss the effects of sleep deprivation or insomnia and the difference between the two on the human body, and we will discuss how sleep benefits the human body, how it is when we are asleep that the repairs are made to our body and how connections are made in the brain while we're asleep, how the brain sends memories to the memory banks and records them in long-term memory, and how the brain makes the connections between the information that we learned and the memory banks. So the basic premise of this particular lecture is that sleep and rest are just as important as exercise and healthy eating. In week 7, we will move on to discussing stress and the harm it can cause to the human body. In this lecture, we will be defining stress, and we will be discussing the different kinds of stress, that there is good stress and bad stress, and we will also be discussing and defining the various stages of stress. We also discuss a topic that, a very specific type of stress. We will be discussing the topic of toxic friends, how to deal with them, or if they cannot be dealt with, how the steps that need to be taken to remove them from your life for now, and how removing a toxic friend from your life for now does not mean that you will never be friends again. It just means that for now that particular person is not good for you, and the effects that a toxic friend can have on you and on your other friends, and how it is important that they not become a toxic friend themselves. In the final class of the series in week 8, we will be discussing happiness. In this last lecture of the class, we will be discussing happiness and how to recognize the one thing that makes you truly happy and how to go about making that your career. And because if you can make the one thing that makes you happy into a career, you will never work a day in your life. We will be discussing how happiness, your own personal happiness, is not the responsibility of other people, how it is solely your responsibility, and how to go about working happiness into your daily life. And there is no homework or quiz at the end of this particular lecture, but at the end of each lecture up until then, there will be a homework assignment and a quiz, and there will be a final exam based on all 8 of these lectures. If you have any questions or comments on any of the topics in this lecture series, or if there is a particular topic you want me to add to this series for your child or children in particular, please call me at 407-227-2201 any day of the week up until 9 o'clock, or you can text me at that same phone number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're looking for a fast response, I tend to answer text messages almost immediately. And again, my phone number is 407-227-2201. Text or call, and I thank you for your interest in this class, and I look forward to hearing from you.